Another hurricane season is upon us. Make this year different. Equip yourself with a backup power generator from JH Launchers Electric. We can source and supply any size, any type to your specifications. But the best part is we stock generators. No more long waiting and delays for your home unit. We proudly stock from 2,000 watts all the way to 26,000 watts gas and diesel generators. Automatic and manual transfer switches are also in stock. Visit JH Launchers Electrics today.
What is the vision for the Vendors Arcade? To provide a world-class shopping environment where local goods and services can be provided and experienced by locals and visitors. Why is this redevelopment necessary? The renovations and expansions will revitalize the infrastructure and enhance the shopping experience for vendors, locals, and visitors. Who will be responsible for the Vendors Arcade? The arcade will continue to be operated and managed by the Castries Constituency Council, who will have full responsibility for the rental and maintenance of the space. How will construction of the Vendors Arcade be managed? A phased approach will be employed to minimize disruption to daily operations. After the completion of each phase, vendors will be relocated from the former arcade, and this will continue until completion of the new facility. St. Lucia Cruise Port, investing in people.
It is well known that diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, and other illnesses may restrict blood flow, which can lead to impotence and erectile dysfunction. This is why Enhance was formulated to meet these challenging health problems, which can reduce your ability to perform. If you're having problems maintaining your manhood, then reclaim your manhood today with Enhance. Enhance increases your energy level, boosts your stamina, and increases your endurance.
You can get your Enhance at Southwell VA4, Restorer Pharmacy Soufre, Knights Med Miku, Lay By Bar The Morn, Dexter's Place Jeremy Street Castries, Citygate Bar The City opposite the market, Plants Place Denry Highway, Arlette Supermarket Soufre, The Release Stress Bar Labrie Highway, Cool Joint Bar Victoria Schwazel, Prio's Bus Stop 22, next to the Moshi Bus Stop opposite the Grosile Bus Stop. Prio's Bar and Grill in Corinth, Grosile.
Enhance, the best a man can get.
The voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Real issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM. The man.
Good afternoon to you, everyone. It is the 4th day of July 2025. Welcome once again to The Real Issues with me, Shelton Daniel, alongside our technical operator, Alton Jaquan Joseph. We've been through another week of this program, which airs weekdays, Monday to Friday, holidays accepted, weekends as well, from 12:30 until 2 p.m. on the radio station, Real FM, that serves you on a 91.3 megahertz for the north and 91.5 for the south. Simulcasting on MBC Television, channel 120 on the Flow Cable TV service. We are also on Facebook Live and on YouTube live streaming. I hope you've been having a good day and a good week so far. We've gotten at least to the first 4 days of the month of July. 25 more days yet to go in the month. Let's hope it continues this way. Although I have to qualify when I say continue this way, because the recent explosion in violence, and by that I mean deadly violence, gun violence, about 5 people, all of them young men, fatally shot in different parts on the west coast in Soufre seems particularly troubled. Of course, we've had in the Denry Valley as well, and in other places. It's really, really something to be quite alarmed about, because we've been through a period where things seem to have quieted down. But like other things which I was talking about, such as politics, you can't afford to take anything for granted. no matter how pretty you think you're sitting or you think you're doing, no matter how many times you've worn it and how impregnable you seem. It's the same way with the peace. It's the same way with the violence. It's the same way with the crime. Do not ever let ourselves be lulled into any sense of complacency or that, we got this under control and so on and the police are doing a wonderful job. Just look at this flare-up that seems to have come out of nowhere. What could the police have done? What could the police have done with this spontaneous people pulling gun on people, pumping several shots into them, which tells you they want to make sure that the person is dead? I mean, I up to now I'm wondering, my goodness, where did this come from? Where has this come from? And in every case, almost, we are hearing that he was not involved in anything. He was not in any trouble with anybody. He was not in any gang. So why is it happening? Are people just going around killing people for no reason, just for the sheer heck of it, just for the fun of it? Is that what's happening? I'm very sorry. That's going to be a hard sell by me. I'm not buying that one, that easily, that people are just going around watching somebody and boo, I don't like to see you. Speaking about don't like to see you, this young man from Palmis was killed at Palmis, Soufre and son. I looked at him and I said, wow, good looking young man, pretty boy, if you're allowed to say that, the other young men, the looks about them decent and so on, not the typical movie New Jack City boys in the hood kind of thing that you'd expect to see. The look about them, it's just not there. They look like fairly decent young men who could be doing any number of things with their lives, and their lives are just suddenly cut short for reasons that we just can't fathom, can't figure out, can't understand. Meanwhile, there are other crimes outstanding, such as this horrendous one that took place at Corinth some time ago, where a young woman, alighted from a bus, heading to her home from work, and then somebody apparently waiting for her and just cuts her down like that, as if she's nothing, like she's just so much refuse, like she's just so much garbage, like she's insignificant, and shoots her. And it was said that she had some case pending. I think that the individual who she had that rape, she was the virtual complainant, saying that this person sexually assaulted or raped her and so on. Tried to have the case thrown out on the basis that she's now deceased. So, the virtual complainant is dead, but I think the judge ruled against that the case can go ahead based on statements, based on reports, based on other evidence that they have in it. In fact, I think I was reading that on the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court website. Now, this is not to say that the person that she had the case alleging that he sexually assaulted her, that this individual is the one who killed her. People jump to those conclusions. Sometimes there are other things, or sometimes they can be connected. Even if she's deceased, my understanding is that the investigation is continuing, that a suspect is in custody. The person surrendered himself on the advice of his lawyer, accompanied by his lawyer, and so that this is an ongoing inquiry unless something has happened that I missed. I've been telling you people, be very careful when we hear things that are spoken with such certainty, with such verve, with such conviction. It is spoken with I know what I'm saying, and I've seen it happen not just in the politics and the press releases and the statements. Sometimes you happen to be on a bus with people and they come up with some story about somebody, and they have a way they beat the chest, they speak it, and you wonder, could that person possibly be lying or saying something they don't know what they're saying, simply because of the absolute, every vein and sinew and on them seems to be tensed, and with the assurance that they're saying it. Only later you find out. Not until go so. Never happened. And I'm thinking of the United Workers' Party, with this visit by the Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that they seem to have so many questions about what's the purpose of it, why is it happening now, and the people who allege that it is connected to racism, you can't fault them, you can't blame them. Foreign heads of state visit other countries all the time, all over the world. Sometimes there's no diplomatic relations between them yet, but they're looking to cultivate a relationship. Haven't we had 2 presidents of Taiwan? At least one visit St. Lucia, Taiwan from so far away. Haven't we had them? Many others might come, but because of security concerns, I have things about the short notice when the visit was announced and so on. Do you understand that arranging such visits have so many things in them that the very short span of time you do it may well be connected to security? That you want the president to come, within a time frame that will not give sufficient reaction to what's the name of that Islamic rebel group that is operating in Nigeria that kidnapped girls, several girls some time ago. I think it's an affiliate of Islamic State and whatever and so on, that was stringing havoc in the country. You don't want to give them time to get their act together and to dispatch a couple of agents and a couple of guerrillas and so on under some guys to come to St. Lucia and to wait for the president so they can bump him off. You don't want that. You want to do it in a time frame that all kind of assessments are made as to whether whatever their name is. I keep forgetting. I should have remembered it. You remember Boko Haram? Was it? Are they the Boko Haram people or so on? You remember them. Whether they have assets in the Caribbean, whether they have people that they can mobilize and monitor and activate them so that they can meld among St. Lucians and so on. Maybe they're a medical student, whatever, who's sympathetic and they can do something to the president. The politics of some people is really an obsession. We cannot relate to that because we don't have guerrilla rebel organizations and terrorists and so on, at least not within the domestic a rubric that we know of and so on. You have to arrange things taking into account many considerations. They may not be in St. Lucia, but suddenly a couple of Nigerians who are living in the United States decide that they want to come on a vacation in St. Lucia. You may never know what it is that they're planning to do. So you have to arrange the visits with a speed, within a time frame that adverse agents and actors do not have time to respond. I'm not saying this is what happened, but state visits are things that have to be very well coordinated. They may not kill him. They may decide to kidnap him and demand a major ransom. So many millions and billions of money that Nigeria has must be deposited in this account and must be dropped off there. These are all the things, the security people of Nigeria and of St. Lucia have to think of. So when you come and try to pick and nitpick and find all kind of faults with the visit and why he come in, is it money he come to give to Philip J. Pierre for campaigning and our CIP and whatever, if you can get some Nigerians to come and to invest in our CIP, what's wrong with that? We have other people from distant lands and Arabic people and people from Malta and Cyprus and this and that coming to our, into our CIP. Why a couple of Nigerian billionaires and so on, if they meet the qualifying criteria, that they can't come? It's not everybody who's rich who's corrupt, It's not every great fortune that began with a crime as we tend to believe. But when it is black people, African people, we have a lot of negativity about it. You know who are the people who helped Liat to stay afloat? Who helped Liat to be essentially reinvented, who pump investment money that Liat was not totally obliterated? You know who Gaston Brown turned to? West Africans, Nigerians and Ghanaians and so on, who pump money so that now we have a Liat 2020. It's not as vast, it's not as the previous Liat and so on. It's not as expansive and well known and household name, but at least Liat has been kept as a growing concern. And there is a transportation option alternative with significant private sector investment for at least the Eastern Caribbean and other countries, African investors. And they will be playing a much bigger role in the future because finally, I think, some African countries that had the potential are getting their act together. But where I was going with that, doesn't the United Workers' Party feel absolutely, totally embarrassed down to the dirt that they have to be exposed as being the ones who initiated, who pioneered, who pushed for us to establish diplomatic relations with Nigeria? Antigua and Barbuda actually has an ambassador that they have appointed to Nigeria and the African Union. His name is, I think, Davin Joseph. He was once their chief fisheries officer. He was a key man, the ambassador to the International Whaling Commission. A lot of people in St. Lucia would know Davin, you know. I think they have appointed him, you know, as ambassador. I believe the late King Franklin Francis, a known cricket commentator, Rastafarian, I think he also had some credentials pertaining to, I think he was the ambassador to Ethiopia as well. Antigua has been doing that, cultivating relations with African countries. Why should we be ashamed? The wealthiest almost country in the African continent, the most populous, with a population almost the same as the United States. So much diversity, so much history, so much we can learn from Nigeria, even if it's lessons we can learn. But you know, yesterday, Alan Shasney put himself in the position where Alva Baptist has to demati him, reading from a cabinet conclusion to show that the United Workers' Party proposed and approved. I don't know how far they went into the execution for St. Lucia to establish formal diplomatic relations with Nigeria. But now that a Nigerian president has been invited to St. Lucia, you're finding every kind of fault of it. Yet, at the official ceremony and function and so on, you're there, you know. You're there. You're there shaking hands, you know. You're there embracing and smiling and so on, as if, you know, we were with it all the time. We were on board all the time. Be very careful when you hear anybody, but especially the United Workers' Party under Alan Shasney, whose deputy is Guy Joseph. Well, as I always say, he has this, again, very forceful way of saying things. You know, he capable too langly, too dying, too lively, too gorgely, like capable. So you believe a man like that cannot possibly be speaking anything but the truth. Look at this, you know. Look at how Alva Baptist calmly demolished Shasney and the UWP on the question of Nigeria. He got up and walked out. A bathroom break? I don't think so. I think maybe we are seeing a little positivity in that Alan Shasney is actually capable of feeling embarrassed. Because I don't get the feeling that he is, you know. That he's, you know, like they say, sans honte, shameless, so on. There is no kind of blushing at his sin. There is no kind of modesty that, you know, his head gets bowed and he becomes a little cowed when he's exposed. He's just going to work on the next big lie and invent it and so on. But that was really a devastating, dismounting, a devastating, you know, absolutely taken apart of a leader of the opposition and a main opposition party that should have some respectability about it, given its own history. Speaking about Guy Joseph, yesterday the time seemed to have gone on me so quickly. Shortened the week, as you know, Monday and Tuesday we didn't have any program. You know that Senator Dr. Alison Jean is taking Guy Joseph to court? I got the document at some point and I needed to go over it and so on. Let me just look at this. Yeah. She's taking him to court for things he has been saying about her, pertaining to, you know, by innuendo, by insinuation that she was involved in some corruption during her time as permanent secretary, you know, trying to wrap different things. They've been trying to do the same thing to Stephenson King, but I think Stephenson King, I've never heard of him suing anybody. I think he's a guy who just brushes things off and so on and leaves them, and when the time is right, at a press conference, at a briefing, at a political meeting, he comes and he rips it up and so on. You know, Stephenson King, it's not that he don't care, you know. I think he knows that some truths can wait, and he'll blow it away when it does. Alison Jean is not that kind of, she may be a political person, but not a politician in that sense, who's ever been on the hustings and, you know, that sort of thing. But I think I'll be okay in reading that. But let me read it. I have to read the letter that was written by Senator Jean's legal representative, which is Fraser and Company. The principal is Mr. Horace Fraser, and the consultant is Stephen Fraser, who's a senior counsel. This to be Queen's counsel before. So I don't know if Mr. Stephen Fraser is related to Mr. Horace Fraser. Not too sure. Not that it's important. Anyway, By the way, greetings to Mr. Horace Fraser. Haven't seen or spoken to him for a long time. Very nice man. Again, you have a conversation with him and you learn so much. He's talking to you even while he's shooting pool, which I think is one of his favorite little pastimes and so on. And nice gentleman and so on, you know. Like Mr. Alberton Richlow is another man that I've had some conversations with. Very forthright, open man and so on. Never mind his affiliation with the United Workers' Party and all of that, you know. I have respect and admiration for people based upon who they are. Anyway, the letter is dated 27th June 2025. That's very recent, isn't it? Are we talking about a week ago? To Guy Eardley Joseph, Forestier Castries. Dear sir, we write on behalf of our client, Miss Alison Jean. We are instructed by our client that she has recently retired from the public service, having served with distinction and having gave years of dedicated service to the people and government of St. Lucia. We are also instructed by our client that on the 11th day of August 2024 at the Babono Multipurpose Center, at a public event hosted by the United Workers' Party, which was streamed live, you made reference to the Lindquist Commission of Inquiry commissioned by the Prime Minister to look into allegations of corruption within the Ministry of Economic Development, Housing, Urban Renewal, Transport and Civil Aviation. At the forum, you published the following statement. And this is in a separate paragraph set off by quotation marks. A lot of us, including Flambos, some of my cabinet colleagues, believe what Labour Party was saying. But I always tell them, I want any one of them to stand the scrutiny that Guy Joseph has stood. When the Lindquist Commission of Inquiry was commissioned in 2012, and I have the report, and the report has more about Stevenson King and Tony Leon than it has about Guy Joseph. And it has Alison Jean right on top. Bring me to court. Let me come with the evidence. On the 22nd day of June 2025, at a UWP public meeting at Grosile, well, that's end of quoting for what I said about ending with evidence, you again published similar words to wit. I will write to the special prosecutor. I will make myself available for a commission of inquiry. Come and ask me all the questions and come and bring all the evidence you all have on Guy Joseph and Stevenson King and Alison Jean. I'm inviting you all. And when you're coming, Stevenson King and Alison Jean, come with the documents for all the equipment that came to Vieux by the old airport base. And tell the people of St. Lucia how you cleared it, Stevenson King. You send my PS on leave. You send somebody to act for 3 days in my ministry. When you, Stevenson King, was Prime Minister. And in the 3 days, the first day, the PS started acting. You remember there was a whole set on equipment, I suspect it means set of equipment, which came to Vieux by the old base. Between 2026, it has 2026 or something, but I know it's been 20. Between 20026, what does that mean? The old base between 20026. Is there a shed called 20026? I'm not sure. And they said it was Guy Joseph that brought the equipment, and that was to build the airport. It was Stevenson King's friend who brought the equipment, and all the things the friend did for him is in the Lindquist report. That's why Labour not releasing the Lindquist report. And that same friend was the one who was buying the furniture for Alison Jean. Take me to court. Take me to court. My father taught me the value of integrity. So Stevenson King, I'm inviting you publicly to the press conference that I am calling, but come with the documents that Josiah Charles and Alison Jean investigated how the equipment was cleared as belonging to the Ministry of Communication and Works, but not one piece of equipment ever belonged to the ministry. Now, I don't know if this is something. Wasn't Guy Joseph in cabinet, in government to Stevenson King for at least 2 terms? From 2006 to 2011? And again from 2016 to 2021? You had all this information. Is now that they out that you know to come with it and all this thing? Why didn't you report it? Don't you have a responsibility? When you know a crime or some illegality is taking place, I think it's a principle of law that you have a duty, you have a responsibility to come forward with the information to make a report. That a witness is supposed to come forward once they have knowledge of even the mere planning of a crime, not to wait when the crime, you know somebody, you have a duty, you have a responsibility to do it. You know this kind of things will happen. It's only now that you and Stevenson King on opposite sides and is no longer in UWP that you know. This is the problem that I find. If you're a man of some kind of integrity and so on, why is now, you come into the time it's only now you find out about it through Lindquist report and that sort of thing. You knew that he sent your PS on leave and he used the period of the PS on leave to somebody to act and to do this. You knew that. You didn't need Lindquist to tell you that. You were in the belly of the beast. You probably were the beast yourself, with all those direct awards I'm told that you gave when you acted as Prime Minister for one day and all the different things that's being said. Why now? But anyway, the words published by you, that's now the lawyer's writing, by their natural and ordinary meaning and by way of innuendo, mean and conveyed in the minds of right-thinking members of the society and further afield, that our client was guilty of corruption in public office. While holding public office, she conspired with Stevenson King and Josiah Charles to steal property belonging to the government of St. Lucia. She personally benefited from corruption while holding public office, or she conspired with Stevenson King and Josiah Charles to do personal business in the name of the Ministry of Communication and Works as a way of cheating the revenue, which is dishonest and corrupt. The words published by you extended beyond the immediate audience you were addressing and were prominently featured on social media platforms, thus reaching a wider audience in St. Lucia throughout the Caribbean region and internationally. The words published by you have lowered our client's esteem in the eyes of right-thinking members of the society and brought her good name and character into public odium. In this regard, we have advised our client that a case of defamation has been made out and she can therefore invoke the legal process. We are instructed by our client to demand of you, and we hereby do, that within 10 days of your receipt of this letter, you do cause an unconditional apology to be published on all the recognizable social media platforms and duly inform us on her behalf about such publications. If you fail to do as is herein demanded, legal proceedings shall be initiated by our client against you without fail or further notice. All for your information, guidance, and action, yours sincerely, Fraser and Company, for Horace Renison Fraser, Esquire, Attorney at Law. Now, you may wonder if this thing happened in 2024, why is that letter from Senator Jean's lawyer only going out to Guy Joseph in June 2025? All right? And it is because that the statute of limitation, the window that you allowed between, you have a year. Beyond that, I think what they call the statute of limitation, especially as it pertains to defamation and libel and slander and this sort of things, you do that outside of a year and basically the magistrate or whoever will tell you they have no jurisdiction. This matter was done, outside the statute of limitations period. So I'm guessing that the 1 year, which would be up in August, early August, mid-August 2025, is still active. So this matter is being brought up right now. And this is the kind of things that we have to follow. None of us knows how a court, a judge, whatever is going to find or rule on this matter, on the examination of it. Maybe Guy Joseph has evidence that he thinks he can bring to prove his case, whatever. But there are sometimes you have to, I think courts have found that even though the information, truth is the best defense against defamation. But how you use that truth, what you use it for. In other words, if you are really concerned about corruption, did you do anything to address or redress the corruption instead of mounting on a political platform? Whether your aim was just as it says to lower the person in the eyes of right-thinking people and so on. Were you in a position to do something about it? Were your actions, your statements on the platform, were they mitigated by any actions that you took or any statements that you made or anything that you could have gone, including going to the special prosecutor if you felt that there was that sort of thing. But to go on a platform and to do all this kind of drama and to hint that Allison ordered furniture under the government's account to make it look like it was a government transaction and all this kind of thing you're doing. I hope that this matter, it is heard in a manner that leads to a development of our understanding, our better understanding and clarification, so that we can be a lot more informed on the issues involved in defamation, libel, slander. All right, now it's 1 o'clock already. Ooh, does the time fly? Tell you what, folks, Real Issues powered by Blue Waters. Let's take the break, and when we come back, I'll open the phone lines because after all, we're going into a weekend. We didn't have program for 2 days. I know yesterday you were not as active as you normally are until late in the program when we're almost coming to an end, because there was the parliament, and as I always say, the people who are very loyal to the real issues, the people who are really our audience and so on, they are the same people who make sure they follow the parliament quite closely. So we understand that. We'll be back shortly. Don't go away.
The voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Real issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
Another hurricane season is upon us. Make this year different. Equip yourself with a backup power generator from JH Launchers Electric. We can source and supply any size, any type to your specifications. But the best part is we stock generators. No more long waiting and delays for your home unit. We proudly stock from 2,000 watts all the way to 26,000 watts gas and diesel generators. Automatic and manual transfer switches are also in stock. Visit JH Launchers Electrics today.
What is the vision for the Vendors Arcade? To provide a world-class shopping environment where local goods and services can be provided and experienced by locals and visitors. Why is this redevelopment necessary? The renovations and expansions will revitalize the infrastructure and enhance the shopping experience for vendors, locals, and visitors. Who will be responsible for the Vendors Arcade? The arcade will continue to be operated and managed by the Castries Constituency Council, who will have full responsibility for the rental and maintenance of the space. How will construction of the Vendors Arcade be managed? A phased approach will be employed to minimize disruption to daily operations. After the completion of each phase, vendors will be relocated from the former arcade, and this will continue until completion of the new facility. St. Lucia Cruise Port, investing in people.
It is well known that diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, and other illnesses may restrict blood flow, which can lead to impotence and erectile dysfunction. This is why Enhance was formulated to meet these challenging health problems, which can reduce your ability to perform. If you're having problems maintaining your manhood, then reclaim your manhood today with Enhance. Enhance increases your energy level, boosts your stamina, and increases your endurance.
You can get your Enhance at Southwell VA4, Restorer Pharmacy Soufre, Knights Med Miku, Lay by Bar The Morn, Dexter's Place Jeremy Street Castries, Citygate Bar The City opposite the market, Plants Place Denry Highway, Arlette Supermarket Soufre, The Release Stress Bar Labrie Highway, Cool Joint Bar Victoria Schwazel, Prios Bus Stop 22, next to the Moshi Bus Stop opposite the Grosile Bus Stop. Prios Bar and Grill in Corinth, Grosile.
Enhance, the best a man can get.
The voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Real issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
much, everyone, for tuning in to and staying with The Real Issues on this Friday, July the 4th, 2025. Our final program for the week and our entry into July territory. We have a call on the line, don't we? Let's take that first call. Real Issues, you're on the air.
Oui.
Hello.
Mr. Shelton Daniel.
Hey, how you doing?
Comment vous êtes là?
Hey, forward là.
Après papa bon Dieu.
Hey, côté forward là, m'attend pas l'eau pièce, c'est jour passé là.
Pardon?
Côté, après les 2 ou 3 jours, m'attend pas l'eau
Non, pour 2
pièce.
3 jours, moi à terre.
Ok.
Encore pas bon.
Ok. Ou m'a trop pendant ce coup là?
Ou te cabaret ou attendre.
Ok.
Mais là,alité après papa bon Dieu, ouais quoi temps barré là. Ah, décembre là, les moi forward. Forward là de Cambrele. Oui, comment vous êtes?
Moi bien merci, ou même
Avec la famille.
Oui, tout le monde bien.
Eh bien, forward là, après papa bon Dieu, d'abord moi power toujours pour t'en voir moi. Langue moi quand t'en me de hadou moi a perd 7 coups que je dois payer moi. Pour toujours t'en me de gadou ça, moi perd 7 coups que je dois payer moi. On stroke qui est pour moi.
Ok.
De là même derrière deux moi je me ferme ma attendre que mi hodi a même moun là. De là mais envier devant. Rien pas arrivé, il faut mi pas manger, mi bouche mi langue li. Mr. Sheldon Daniel je vais tous ces gens qui ont couillé, qui ont dit, encore. Moi, là, là, et puis nous, là, gouvernement, maman, de papa, bon Dieu, bah, tout power, tout ça, ça fait, bah, nous, pour y faire, pas bah, yon, pas bah, deux, pas bah, trois, bah, nous, tout. Ça a qualité, moun, forward là, et congratulations to everybody, qui qu'on a moyen. Mr. Sheldon Daniel, love you, love everybody. Love everyone and all.
Love you too forward là. Passez un bon le restant journée vendredi et puis week-end là aussi.
Yes.
Ok, nous allons causer en l'autre jour.
Okay, thanks.
All right, okay. 487-9849 at 758-487-9849. That's the number on which you can WhatsApp call us, and you can call us on the local landline 4533-911. We have a caller. You're on the air. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Shelton.
Hey, what's up, my buddy?
I'm good, my brother. Good afternoon, Jaquan, and to your viewers and listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Shelton, boy, sometimes I wish I were in the news to highlight certain things that, I come across in discussions with people out on the streets. And I can assure you and your listeners that the story I'm about to give is not a fabricated one. Like certain people who meet single mothers in the bank who cried on their shoulders and hugged them and said things are so hard and whatever.
Yeah, go ahead. Oh. Yeah, we're not hearing you right now, so I think your connection may have become a little...
Amen.
Yeah, a little weak at the point.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I'm hearing you again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was saying, I met a young man a while ago, and we were just talking because I just came from my daughter's school as well.
Mm.
And he said to me, boy, thank God I don't have to buy books in September. So I'm thinking, man, what is it? Is it curriculum now and laptops and everything? And then he said, no, she's going to Form 5. So obviously they use the same books. So then he says to me, now all he has to worry about is CXC.
Mm.
I said, well, boy, it's not much because the government is paying 4 subjects. He said, boy, I have to pay 6 something. How many subjects are your daughter doing? Is your daughter doing, sorry? He said 5 or 6, I believe. Well, I said, if that is a foreign language among them and a science subject, that means you probably only have 1 something, 2 something to pay. He said, oh yeah, that's true. Let me call my child mother and tell her that. And just the excitement in his voice had me feeling good. And it gives you an everyday understanding of how the average person feels the Philip J. Pierre government's policies. And I just wanted to highlight that and that just happened within the last hour. So I'm just feeling so good about it. And I think that these are the kind of stories that we need to highlight so that people understand. Those who are skeptical about what's going on can understand what is happening with the country under this PJP government.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, have a great,
And have a great weekend.
Yeah, you as well.
Thank you.
All right. 758-487-9849. You can WhatsApp call us on that, and you can also reach us on the landline 4533-911. Thank you very much, Miguel, for that experience. All right. I got another. Somebody said, "What about the lie on the Schengen visa?" I think they had said that our Schengen visa arrangements had been suspended or had been terminated because of concerns about the CIP and all those things that the UWP has been peddling. It's always about visa access, and the visa right. United States will do this, and Europe will do that. Always he wants to be the one to speak for Europe and for America and so on, as if he's the government of those places. The people don't even have time for you. It's only in places like St. Lucia, like they say, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. In a place where there is still a lot of the colonial inferiority complex of black people and so on, that a white man shows up and they believe he knows everything, and it's only here you can come and do this kind of posture and parading and so on. In America, Trump don't have time for you. The Europeans and so on, they don't have any kind of special regard for you, especially when you probably don't have any other things that will impress them, that you a knife of any sharpness, in the draw of international leadership and so on, etc. Wow. Good afternoon to Empress Bobo, who says, "Blessed Earth Strong to my loving cousin, Pamela Leonti, a.k.a. Pam of Canaries, celebrating today. Wishing her more blessings, more life in this, more life. This greeting is coming from your cousin, Empress Bobo, with love." All right, so I hope that Pam, your cousin, is listening and gets that message. 758-487-9849. That is the WhatsApp number on which you can reach us. And you can also get us on 4533-911. Now, since there are no calls coming in right now, I want to just touch original thing that I was informed about, that Lennox Linton has resigned as the president of the opposition United Workers' Party in Dominica. All right, the Dominica United Workers' Party. Basically, same difference. I think they have, affiliations and fraternal ties and so on. It's the Yellow Party of Dominica, previously led by Edison James, who, when he retired, Lennox Linton took over the leadership. And Lennox Linton, a journalist, broadcaster who worked, before I went there, of course, at Observer Radio in Antigua. Sharp guy, intelligent guy, well-spoken, but he hasn't had much success politically. His party captured 6 seats at his first election outing as the leader, but next election they were cut down to just 3, and I think their fortunes have been in decline ever since, even in a worse position. All right, but it says that Linton resigns as UWP president. The president of the main opposition United Workers' Party, UWP, Lennox Linton, has resigned from the position. The UWP leader, Dr. Thompson Fontaine, has confirmed. He said that Linton, who once served as opposition leader and UWP leader, gave no reasons for his resignation. Party officials said that Linton, 68, had submitted his letter of resignation to the party's General Secretary, Nicholas George. Linton was elected as UWP president in December 2024. He was first elected as the parliamentary representative for the Marigo constituency on December 8, 2014, and served as opposition leader until the December 6, 2022 snap general election. Linton also served as the UWP leader from September 1st, 2013 until his resignation on October 3rd, 2022. All right, so another one bites the dust. Lennox Linton gone from the position. My feeling about it is that Linton probably realizes that he's fighting a losing battle, trying to bring the UWP in Dominica to any greater level of success or viability. And so he's decided to pack it in, call it a day, go home, stay home, and leave all that thing alone. All right, so Jaquan, I think we have a short video that we'll play showing that St. Lucia is one of 3 countries selected for a share of a groundbreaking $300 million investment by the Food and Agriculture Organization to transform our fisheries and aquaculture sector. And I think the 300 million is US that they would be talking about, the international currency. And it doesn't say St. Lucia will get all of it, but a share of it. I think 3 countries are getting that funding. Let's roll it.
I'm thrilled to share some exciting news coming from Port Moresby. The Green Climate Fund has just approved 3 major climate initiatives supported by FAO. These groundbreaking projects are going to help protect vital forests in Papua New Guinea, to advance sustainable fisheries in St. Lucia, and accelerate the growth of Africa's Great Green Wall. These landmark investments, worth over $300 million, are a huge win for the countries and communities on the front line of the climate crisis. This includes 5.7 million people living in the Sahel's semi-arid regions who stand to benefit from the Suragua, or Great Green Wall program. In Papua New Guinea, where pristine forests cover over 70% of the land, will support the government's work to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by tackling deforestation and forest degradation. And in St. Lucia, we'll work with our partners to transform the fisheries and aquaculture sectors using a circular economy approach. With these new investments, FAO has now supported countries to access investments worth over $1.8 billion. And hand in hand with our members, we will continue to deliver sustainable and resilient agri-food system solutions directly to those who need them the most.
All right, so people, good news, good things are happening. There are those who just want to keep you distracted, immersed, submerged in their negativity, in their propaganda, in their lie, in their deception to make you believe St. Lucia is in a state of crisis, St. Lucia is in a state of nothing is going right and nothing is working well, and we're in the crosshairs of every country over visa and access and all this sort of thing. They just want to create that concocted, manufactured sense of crisis in the hope that it will help them to get back into office so that they can continue their blatant theft and corruption and giveaway of our money. Money they say they don't have to help us, but they have it to give golo to their friends, to their families, to foreigners, and to get it back, as what you call kickbacks and so on. That's what they want. We have a call on the line. Real issues here on the air.
Good morning, Chef.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Chef, and good afternoon. Yeah,
hello.
To your guests.
Hi, caller. Are you there?
Yeah, hi. I was looking.
All right. Okay. It doesn't look like we're getting...
St. Lucia would go.
We have the caller or not getting there? Caller, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was asking Shasni.
Yeah, speak up a bit. You seem to be very low. I don't know why.
Oh, I don't. Oh.
Okay, we're hearing you now.
I was asking. I was looking at the news a few weeks back when Shasni said we St. Lucia would go to the US without a visa when he get into office. Where is that promise?
Yeah. Go ahead. As if I'm hearing you, and then you seem to be fading or something.
Oh, I was saying.
Yeah.
Shaston said about a few years back in his campaign, we St. Lucian.
Oh, we'll be doing so well. We'll be doing so well under him that United States will not refuse us visa because they know we'll always want to come back home.
Yes. So what is that promise?
Well, like so many other promises that he made that never saw the light of day, didn't we hear that he was going to sign something to make the price of fuel go down, that he was going to eliminate VAT, but at the end of the day, he ended up raising excise tax. No fuel prices went down. In fact, he collected money of, a whole lot of things with him,
we would have 27 islands.
Yeah.
They will say, oh, where you come from? I came from the pool of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
So where's that pool of the Caribbean? Where is it?
Yeah. So many things with Chasney, Chasney doesn't have a clue what he's doing, and he wants to show that he's the fount and source of all ideas and all things that are successful. So he probably does not even consult or, knock heads with the people in his own party to decide how can we formulate some good policies that we can put, good promises to the people of realistic things, that are achievable and so on. He probably doesn't know that because he has this need to show that he is such a bright guy that he just came in and he just thought about this and he just put this in place,
Even yesterday, I was looking at that debate yesterday, and the guy is looking lost. The guy is looking lost In everything he was asked, they was asking him, was looking lost.
Yeah.
And the man is lying. The man is lying like bold face.
Yeah. What else
So I
is
want to know
what else is
what
new?
is it?
Yeah, what else is new?
I don't know what else is new because
Now I'm
because the
talking
man
about
is doing
I'm
like-
talking about when it comes to Shasney lying. What else is new? You know?
yeah, Shelton, the man is lying and they have the facts in front of him and he clean the facts around.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay,
and Guy
okay, caller.
Joseph
Thank you.
is-
Thank
yes,
you.
caller. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. You know, talking about Chasney, are we still going to be hearing the whole, what's it called, Federica thing and Hile being a bolom and so on? Are we still going to be hearing that? Has anybody heard it being said and repeated again? Do we have to wait for the weekend when they'll have their Sunday meeting or whatever that only shows the people on the platform? The camera only points at the people who come to the podium. It doesn't show you anybody like the crowd or the audience who's there, who's sitting, whatever. I wonder why, but are we still going to be hearing about the bolom and who's bula and this kind of thing? You know, I wonder if we're going to be in that, because I suspect Richard Frederick said a couple of things where he was deliberately vague, he was deliberately, subtle, he was deliberately tongue-in-cheek, that he said something that I wonder if people will want to mess with him again about the Federica and who's a bolom and who's this kind of thing. I wonder, let's see for the weekend and to see whether it continues. Sometimes you can criticize people, but when people want to be nasty to you, they better be careful that you don't have the means to clobber them in the rib cage. I'm part of this, But when people make a point of trying to be deliberately nasty to other people, they better be careful that their own rib cages are protected so that they don't get clobbered. And all the wind gets knocked out of them and they have nothing more that they can pant or huff or shout. Perhaps they have even difficulty breathing after that. This kind of nasty politics, it comes from brainless people who have no ideas, who have nothing that they can come with to say to people, look, this is how we propose to do this. This is what we will do to kickstart the economy, because they know their history belies all the ability and ideas that they claim to have. It completely belies it. Now, yesterday, I was given a little follow-up on another constituency that I felt had a very interesting history. I didn't get to the point of showing you how Soufrière is very special. And we must protect that special thing about Soufrière, because after all this alternation of one time is SLP, next election it's UWP, next election is SLP, along comes 1997 and Walter François, part of that 16-1 team that won the 1997 elections under Dr. Kenny Anthony, leading the SLP into an election for the first time. And I pointed out to you that after 1997, Soufrière stayed with the SLP for 4 consecutive terms, from 1997 to 2016. Almost 20 years. UWP has won Soufrière only once. Only once in that period from 1997 to the present. SLP has won it 5 times. There is no longer anything about flipping and so on. Herod Stanislas, whatever the fluke, whatever the problems, because many people were shocked. There are a lot of things that shock us that came from some of the elections. Like, Jimmy Henry's performance in Denry North, it stunned a lot of people. 2016 election had some surprises. Other elections have had surprises. But only once has UWP, and that was Herod Stanislas, who won in 2016, defeated with a fair amount of ease by Emma Hippolyte in 2021. Soufrière is a place that we have to consider. It leans heavily in favor of the SLP. But the point I wanted to make, let's not take anything for granted. Don't ever become complacent. And I brought up the Jimmy Henry thing to show. Sean Edward was the SLP candidate who got the biggest majority in the 2011 general elections. I mean, he won that election. He absolutely smashed whoever was on the other side. And you know, when they smash people like that, they hardly remember. I remember the name, you know, my namesake almost. You know, Sean Edward. And then by 2016, the closeness that Jimmy Henry came to Sean Edward had a lot of people shocked. Of course, that has all been reversed. I just want to say that while all the vibes I'm getting is that Sister Emma Hippolyte and the Labour people down there doing well, don't become complacent. Don't take anything for granted. And sometimes it pays to work well with people, even people you don't like. You never know how the goodwill of your behavior, the goodwill of your supportiveness, the goodwill of your being a team player and so on, it can work to your advantage, even when you may not be too fond of somebody. That's why I went into this semi-lecture about the different ways of political soldiering. There is the combative side, there may be the passive side, and then there is the persuasive side. We have to think about the persuasive side as being equally important and valuable in terms of drawing people, in terms of winning people, in terms of bringing people to your side. As its name says, persuading people. We have to think about that. The blowhard approach of telling off people and insulting them and telling them how dumb they are and how stupid they are and so on, this is not always advisable. This is seldom advisable. You see, if you tell people how stupid they are and you are smart and so on, sometimes you can trigger a quiet resentment. They'll put their head down. They'll not look you in the eye. They'll walk past and so on. You make them ashamed, but they know where they will stand tall. They know where they will be proud. They know where they will sock it to you. And that's in the ballot box, where only they go there and nobody knows. Even supporters or people we think to be supporters can become embittered, resentful about something, and they go there and they might express their revenge where we never expect they would do it. Don't take people for granted. Don't take anything for granted. Conduct ourselves properly towards everybody, including those that we consider to be opponents and enemies and this sort of thing. Don't take that approach. What you want to do is to make the election sure. And also to, even though I'm talking about election, stop letting the other side push you into a sense of frantic, you know, like you're frantic, like election is tomorrow, and oh boy, and this and that and the other. There's only one person in St. Lucia who knows when elections will be called, who will make the call and so on. Wait on him. Let him do his work. He's been doing a great job. He's not going to falter and flounder. He's not going to basically drop the ball and throw it away now that we are seeing, you know, the end of this road in terms of the term and all that has been accomplished and is still being accomplished. There's a lot more to be done. There's a lot more to be done, a lot of work to be done. Allow him and his team to focus on that. And by the way, didn't you just love the way that Joachim Henry dealt with Alan Chastney and whoever Bradley was taunting him about the replacing him and this kind of, don't you just love the way that he dispatched them and so on? You know, my party will replace me, but the whole country cannot wait to throw you out, to reject you and so on. You know, I mean, Joachim Henry, what do you think? His back is against the wall? I love the cheerfulness and the spirit and the energy that he showed. Whatever it turns out, that he really gave it to them in a very nice, gentle, diplomatic, we might even say good-natured way. Joachim understands a thing or two about politics, doesn't he? This is The Real Issues powered by Blue Waters. Let's take our final commercial break, and we'll be back to take more of your calls and messages.
The man, the voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Real issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
is upon us. Make this year different. Equip yourself with a backup power generator from JH Launchers Electric. We can source and supply any size, any type to your specifications. But the best part is we stock generators. No more long waiting and delays for your home unit. We proudly stock from 2,000 watts all the way to 26,000 watts gas and diesel generators. Automatic and manual transfer switches are also in stock. Visit JH Launchers Electrics today.
What is the vision for the Vendors Arcade? To provide a world-class shopping environment where local goods and services can be provided and experienced by locals and visitors. Why is this redevelopment necessary? The renovations and expansions will revitalize the infrastructure and enhance the shopping experience for vendors, locals, and visitors. Who will be responsible for the Vendors Arcade? The arcade will continue to be operated and managed by the Castries Constituency Council, who will have full responsibility for the rental and maintenance of the space. How will construction of the Vendors Arcade be managed? A phased approach will be employed to minimize disruption to daily operations. After the completion of each phase, vendors will be relocated from the former arcade, and this will continue until completion of the new facility. St. Lucia Cruise Port, investing in people.
It is well known that diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, and other illnesses may restrict blood flow, which can lead to impotence and erectile dysfunction. This is why Enhance was formulated to meet these challenging health problems, which can reduce your ability to perform. If you're having problems maintaining your manhood, then reclaim your manhood today with Enhance. Enhance increases your energy level, boosts your stamina, and increases your endurance.
You can get your Enhance at Southwell VA4, Restorer Pharmacy Soufre, Knights Med Miku, Lay by Bar The Morn, Dexter's Place Jeremy Street Castries, Citygate Bar The City opposite the market, Plants Place Denry Highway, Arlette Supermarket Soufre, The Release Stress Bar Labrie Highway, Cool Joint Bar Victoria Schwazel, Prios Bus Stop 22, next to the Moshi Bus Stop opposite the Grosile Bus Stop. Prios Bar and Grill in Corinth, Grosile.
Enhance, the best a man can get.
The man, the voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Real issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
For staying with the real issues on this Friday, the 4th of July 2025, and we are going until 2 o'clock, so now is the time to put in your calls and your messages. As a matter of fact, let me go to the Facebook Live. I often say that I'm going to be acknowledging the people who are there. I trust that, Jaquan, you've already put in the link for me to go to the Facebook Live. Thank you very much that it is there. So I can say hi to the people who are on the Facebook Live. Let me see. Oops. There's a way that it comes that I really have difficulty scrolling through the comments so that I can acknowledge individual people. Don't know why when it comes to the black page I have great difficulty getting there. But I'm trying my best. Sometimes the device screen doesn't respond when you tap it. Let me see. Oops. I tell you, some days it's just okay. I think I'm getting there. Let me just say this. Good afternoon to Martin Francis Monrose, the name which pops up first, and also Miguel Favre is there. Just spoke to the guy. Why do I have to see him before other people? Urban Poyot, good afternoon to you. And Miguel says both King and PJP are too seasoned to engage these fools. He also agrees that he hasn't seen Horace Fraser in a while. Miguel says, if he knew about what he alleges Allison and King and whoever Josiah Charles were involved in, then why didn't he report it? So Anna Rosani Money believes that it's a payback because of King switching on them. And Miguel says the man is the beast is beast. Okay, time for Senior Minister King to open the library, says Cecilia Ale. And Westy do it. Stay straight, that would mean, says that he or she can't wait to hear. We're still taking your calls, 487-9849, that's 758-487-9849, and also 4533911. You can message us by going to realfmofficial.com, and there is a WhatsApp messaging link that you can click on. There's also one on mbcslu.com. In addition to there being buttons on both websites where you can listen to the radio, watch the TV online live as well. Anna Rosani Money believe all those mentioned by Guy Joseph from the platform should take him to court. Conrad says Shas is still on that COVID thing. All his debate is on COVID. Yeah, that's the only excuse that he has. That COVID came while his party was in office, so that's why they couldn't do so many things. That's why they were so pressed and stressed for money and so on. And Janet Henry agrees. She says, for real, all he's talking about is COVID. And COVID, he is a repeater. And Cecilia Alice says, and what he did 3.5 years before COVID, he did nothing. Dr. Carlton Augustine, good afternoon to you. He says the economy, that's while EWP was in office, actually contracted in 2019. All right. Cecilia Allen adds, remember in 2006 when the poll showed SLP would win the election, many people stayed home because of the poll and SLP lost. The 2006 election, I don't know if it's ever been analyzed enough and so on. That is an election that I believe some kind of work should have been done, a thorough analysis of it and published in a manner that people could understand and relate to. That was, in many respects, a freaky election. Both 2006 and 2016 were elections that it seems a lot of people never saw the results come in. The 2006 elections, many people felt the election was called too late. About 3 weeks or whatever, too late. It should have been called earlier. So a lot of people, will continue talking about it and so on. And those polls and so on. I think there was another poll in 2016, and in all the cases it was Jamaican pollsters who were giving us polls that didn't turn out to be what it was like. So I hope next time we do a poll, we'll probably try a pollster from Trinidad or from somewhere else. We haven't had much luck with those, Jamaican pollsters. Terry Alex, good afternoon to you. She says, good afternoon all TRI posse. Thank God for Friday. Have a super weekend, everybody. I think I've already greeted Martin Francis Monrose. Let me see who else is there to say hello to them. Stanislas Masso, Renick Ariste, Lucy Manuel. Good afternoon to you all. Wilma Amide, good afternoon to you, as well as someone who calls herself Secret Dolly. A blessed day and an afternoon to you and your weekend as well. Sherry Severin, who says that it's raining cats and dogs in the Republic of Labre. Oh my goodness. Wow, that's very different from what we're experiencing up here at the moment in Castries. But hurricane season, the weather, it can go either way at any time. Good afternoon to Agatha's Love. Who said play the clip, Shelton? Which clip is that? Okay, I think we're probably referring to the clip about St. Lucia to benefit from that FAO funding. We've already done that. Veronica Lubin, good afternoon to you, says, imagine that's the man who wants to become Prime Minister again. Shame on some St. Lucians who want this man to lead them again. Well, anything is possible. Today is the 4th of July. That is the independence anniversary of the United States of America. And my friend, look at who is leading the United States of America and is turning the world upside down. Somebody that Americans had a chance to see him on display, and he came back and won even more convincingly. And when I look at what is happening in America, it looks like a set of billionaires have teamed together to gang up on the people of America, the ordinary people, the less privileged, less endowed, poorer people of America, to make them believe that they're actually helping them to become better, when what I see is a plunder that's taking place. Just look at that budget that has just passed. Tax breaks for the wealthy and cutting down entitlements and assistance to people like Medicaid and those kind of things to help them with horribly expensive healthcare, to dismantle the Department of Education, because you want to dumb down the country. You don't want people, attacking universities and doing everything to make life difficult for them, and the recruitment and so on, of foreigners and so on. I don't know. This seems to be an orchestrated attempt to turn on the people of a country. And when I look at the way Donald Trump seems to be doing everything in his power to cozy up to Vladimir Putin, I told people that, and no way I can support Vladimir Putin when I see the way Vladimir Putin seems to have a curious closeness of relationship with Donald Trump. Putin just made some token statements about the U.S. bombing of Iran. Putin has been virtually withdrawn from the situations in Syria and Gaza and those kind of things before Russia would make it a point of speaking out and criticizing it. Like, Putin wants to put in some token criticism of Trump, but don't go too far. Trump the same way, half-hearted in his assistance to Ukraine. And since Trump came into office and the stopping of aid and the stopping of intelligence, Russia has made more battlefield advances than it did in the entire period, the 3 years before and so on. And my feeling is that Trump knows that opposition and resistance to him, I'm not talking about in the Congress where this Mike Johnson and those people are going to pull every stunt they can to give Trump his way, including in the Supreme Court. Trump knows that on the ground, public and popular resistance to him is going to grow, and that not all people in the military and law enforcement, a lot of them will not want to turn their guns and their batons and their tear gas and their pepper spray on their own people. This is very contrary to America. They criticize other countries that suppress uprising and riots and demonstrations with force. Now we are seeing something was happening in California and in Los Angeles, and Trump dispatched the Marines and the military there, to at least go and stare down people and to put it down and to quell it. This is just a dress rehearsal, for what this man plans to do when resistance and opposition to him will grow in the United States, where people will mount roadblocks and they will engage in massive strikes and labor stoppages and so on. Trump is dress rehearsing to use a crackdown on them, but he knows within the military, he knows within the law enforcement agencies of America, there will be a large percentage of the people who serve in those branches who will not want to do it. That's why they're firing General this and firing this one and retiring this one and removing them from command and blocking the recruitment of black people and basically black commanders and so on. They're finding some reason to reassign them and to remove them and to fire them and retire them. This is the kind of thing and Trump knows when that resistance to him grows in the United States, the opposition popular, and a lot of people, whether with FBI or ATF or normal police and military, don't want to go and to crack down on the people, he's going to need other help. He's going to need foreign help. Do not be surprised down the road if the United States, surprise, surprise, unthinkable at one time, under Trump, requests and brings in foreign assistance for so-called peacekeeping and the maintenance of order. And Trump probably is thinking ahead that he may need Vladimir Putin to come and help him to crack down and suppress on the American people. I know it sounds outlandish. I know it sounds far-fetched. But nothing with this guy can you put it past him. That he is playing at, I do not want to offend Vladimir Putin too much. I do not want to make him too angry at me because I may need him down the line when Americans will decide that they're rising up against me. I will never believe now that Trump has any intention of stepping down as president when this term expires, even though it is said that you can only serve 2 terms. Some way he will not want to step down, and he will say that the 2 terms refer to 2 consecutive terms, one after the other, not when you took a break and you come back, you cannot serve for more. And guess what? When he does that, that Supreme Court led by John Roberts and powered, the main ideologue and the man who is the boiler room of that court, Clarence Thomas, the Uncle Tom on the court there, who hates Democrats, who seems to hate other black people like himself and so on, another in my mind, they are going to find some way to manipulate and twist the law and the interpretation and the jurisprudence to deliver a ruling saying that Trump is entitled to go for another term. They'll find another way. Americans, Democrats, whatever, they will want to rise up and say, hell no. And Trump will want to have everything in place to suppress and to crack down on them when he gets that ruling in his favor. So all this kind of thing now about holding back on the arms to Ukraine and Trump wants Ukraine to lose, not because he hates Ukraine, but he wants to appease Vladimir Putin because he is thinking down the line he may need Putin to help him contain the Americans who will rise up against him, who are not going. That's on the 4th of July, on the anniversary of America's independence. America's independence is going to be overturned. The United States Armed Forces may well wake up one day and find that it is the United States disarmed forces, because the commander-in-chief, which their constitution and they themselves are conditioned to obey whatever orders, if Trump invites Russian forces or whoever else to come into America to help him on his crackdown against the American people, and he tells the U.S. Armed Forces to stand down, they have to stand down. And they are very literal in their thinking of this so that Trump can surrender and give away the United States tomorrow if he wants to. And any commander, whether CENTCOM, whether SOUTHCOM, whether AFRICOM, whether NORAD, whatever, they have to obey the commander-in-chief if he tells them to stand down. And I am looking into the future, not as any prophet or soothsayer or seer or any crystal ball, and I see this as a very real. Just like right now, this is not the USA anymore. This is the UVA. What do I mean UVA? Ultra-virus America. This is not United States of America. This is ultra-virus America. And ultra-virus is a Latin term, imported into legal terminology and parlance, which means exceeding your legal authority. You are acting in excess of your legal authority. And what we are seeing with all those executive orders that are taking place without any due process and people being picked up and deported even when they have court cases pending, not waiting for the outcome of the cases, going into the courts and grabbing people who are standing in front of judges and putting them on planes and deport, everything by executive order, the whole tariffs craziness that's going on now. Today we have a deal, tomorrow I'm putting 30% tariffs. Canada, he's suspending talks with them because of some digital tax that they have. This madness that is going on there and so on. This is not the USA, as in United States of America. This is UVA, ultra-virus America. What is funny about it is that there seems to be a massive caving in all around by people who should stand up against it, who apparently don't have the belly to do so. They don't have the stomach to do so, so they're just basically giving in to Trump at every turn because he's threatening that he will undermine them, he'll campaign against them, he'll do this and that, and governors and people in the Congress, senators and so on who are afraid that he is going to rock and wreck their boat. So they don't want that and so on. So they're giving in to him, so he's gaining. The only thing that can stop Trump now is his age, his health, the will of God that, no man is in control of his destiny, particularly men who are 80 years old already, but he doesn't seem to have any regard for the fact that he's on the way out. He's in the departure lounge of life, according to what we know of life expectancy and mental capacity and acuity and dementia and those things that will come upon you. He doesn't think those things will come. And I think Stump understands that because of that possibility, he needs to act as quickly as possible to get done what he came in to get done. So he is going to do as much damage as possible, even if he doesn't call it damage, he calls it making them great again. That he's going to do as much damage as possible until he can no longer do it because of age, because of incapacity, because of whatever it is, an end to his term that's forced upon him that he cannot do it. Trump is in an awful hurry, don't you realize, to get done those things with the trade wars and the tariffs and the this and the that and the military and so on. He's in an awful hurry, like an old man. I have nothing to lose, and I don't have that much time left, so I'm going to do as much as I can do, as badly as I can do it within the time. For all you know, Trump hates Americans. For all you know, narcissistic people, egotistical people like that, They do not forgive people who have voted them out. And the fact that Americans voted him out, to this day he keeps saying that the election was stolen from him. You do not know if this man did not come back with a rage in him against you. How dare you all reject me? I was the best thing that ever happened to you. How dare you all have voted me out? How dare, and this is the kind of thing. Like I said, I may have mentioned it to you before. Once a friend told me, anytime you find yourself in trouble with an old man, older men and so on, be very careful with them, because at the age that they are, and I'm talking about real old, they probably have enough strength left to take the jabet or whatever, or the carnif or the pick fair or the jukba and just plunge it into you, because they feel at their age, what do they have to lose anymore? They're going to send you to jail to feed you and so on, What it is that they can do you, they hang you, you're already at the age where you probably were on your way to die or whatever. Trump is in that stage of life. What do I have to lose, at 80 years old? What do I need to wait for? I don't have much time left anyway. So the guy is moving along with an agenda that has very little to do with making America great or with improving the lives and with people taking advantage of America and ripping them off, and those immigrants who are coming and wrecking the country and doing, yes, very little. An old man who now feels there are certain things that are my flights of fancy. I have to get on board and fly wherever I want and crash however I want. I got nothing more to lose. I live a full, complete life already. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on it and so on, which I thought I should express because today is the American anniversary of independence. What's it, 1789? To 1989? What are we talking about now? 236 years and so on. Fairly young nation that has accomplished a lot, that has been great from its very foundation and maybe even before. Was there ever a time it was not great? Making America great again. America has always been great from the time of its founding. It has only become greater and greater and greater with its problems and its challenges and so on, and all its convulsions and so on in its politics and assassinations of presidents and impeachment and ousters and whatever it has done and so on. The country has always been great. It's recognized by almost everybody as the greatest country on earth for quite some time. Don't know what it is about making it great again. Anyway. Son Mel, good afternoon to you. The problem is Shasney Guy and the rest taking St. Lucian's to the gutter. Agafa's Love says, not me that's getting distracted by them bull on me. All right. They said, and Guy's grandfather taught him the value of the fact. Yeah, I remember that thing about, a fork, garden fork that his grandfather had that seemed to have been charged with certain powers and so on, I don't know if the fact is still around, but I remember a broom that was sweeping Castries. Who brought them to do that? And that broom seemed to have been charged with certain powers. But, the next election, they lost it anyway. And the sweeper didn't see her own demise coming. She passed away. I think she reached 68 years, a fairly good age and so on. But the Jagger Fire, whatever she called herself and so on, she was gone. None of us can surmount or surpass the will of God and the power and the bounds of limitation that He has set on our lives in terms of the years that we have and when we are born and how we live, and when we die and so on. We can't do that, including those who believe that because they have money, that they basically have moved from the realm of humans into gods. You can be as rich as you want. If when you measure or count the days of your life from the year you were born to now, let's say you've lived for 10,000 days or so on, there's no amount of money that can prevent tomorrow from coming, and when tomorrow comes you'll be 10,001 days old. Yeah, you understand what I'm saying? And the day after you'll be 10,002 days old, and it will go on, and nothing your money or your position or your wealth or your lineage and your ancestry can prevent you from having. And quite apart from the length of your life, every day we wake up, we're hearing about somebody who's died, if not of a heart attack, of a stroke, of cancer, breast cancer, cervical cancer, prostate cancer, this, that, lupus, people dying of. Do anything you can to prevent your life from increasing, your years from increasing, and for all the challenges of health and other things that come upon you and that can also take you out at any time. So whether it is the fact or the ballier or whatever it is, we all have a common destiny We all have a common appointment. We all have a common rendezvous with life, its challenges, its decline, and its inevitable end. Yeah, Sylvester Alphonse says he used to work on DBS radio in Dominica. I think you're talking about Lennox Linton. It was lately it was mostly Q95, I think, with Matt Peltier and Carlisle Jean-Baptiste. Those are the people who were the main people that I used to hear him interacting on that radio station. That's Lennox Linton. All right, I'm just trying to see if I can get some of the messages on the Facebook Live, which I often don't do a very good job interacting. But thank you very much, folks. Christopher Johnny, Cecil Peter, Christina George, Yante Emmanuel, nice to have you all there. Nancy Calendar, and Kem Joseph Hamilton, who says at his age he can't even answer a question when a reporter asked him. Linus Budo, good afternoon to you, says Shelton times have changed and they're out there with their fishing line, but unfortunately they have no hook. Great one, Linus, great one. Claudia Shalry, good afternoon to you. Kem Joseph Hamilton again says it's a pleasure listening from Texas on this 4th of July. Have a nice one, bro, okay? Up in the USA and so on. And Mian Chandler says people Shasney is a waste of time. He can't be our prime minister, never again. Flambeaus are desperate, PJP again. All right, well, time will tell, okay? Shasney alone, that not seeing that he is fighting a losing battle, power hungry. Good afternoon to you, Andy Doney. And I think I've greeted Son Mel already. Brother Jude Pokes, hello. Nice to know that you're still around. Have a great weekend. I know you're going into your Sabbath this evening and Saturday. You're a man who takes his Seventh-day Adventist faith and adherence very seriously, but also quite active with us all the time. I know you've been trying to hit me up and so on, but I'll be in touch. Don't you worry, folks. Cletus Peter believes the worst set of people in America is the Republicans. I'll be a little reserved on that. I'm sure they're good, great Republicans, very sincere Republicans and so on. But people can come and manipulate and exploit and take advantage of the sincerity of people. You could find people who are UWP people, they're genuine people, they're sincere people. What they believe in is very heartfelt and so on. They're very serious, they're very well-intentioned. But along comes somebody posturing as if they are the successor to John Compton, and they come in with the same ideas, and they're not. They come in to try to aggrandize themselves, their families, to increase their wealth at the expense of the people. And then they can manipulate people. People get swept along with it, believing that because they're in the party of the same name, that it is the same purpose that they're there. So, you can have genuine people. A lot of Republican people are really sincere people. A lot of the Christian people of America, they really genuinely believe that it is the will of God for them to believe and trust and follow their leaders. They would never believe their leaders are manipulating them and so on. And you talk to them, they're almost naive when you hear them, So I wouldn't take that thing that they are basically stupid people or bad people and so on. Okay. Thank you very much, Andrew Antoine, who says, just for your enlightenment, America gained its independence in 1776. 1789 was the year of the French Revolution. To me, 1789 has some significance in America too, but maybe. Okay, but thank you very much, Andrew Antoine. Haven't heard you for a while. Another person whose name I won't mention says, I feel the same. You could not have said it better. This is Allen's agenda as well. All right. Not exactly sure in connection with what. So I won't mention the name of the individual because of the position that they hold. Good afternoon to them. And just before I leave, let me send out greetings to a friend who I haven't seen for a long time, but I gather she's been having some health challenges. However, the latest news is, as I see on her social media, she seems to have picked up and is on the way to a good recovery. Sister Nancy Nicholas of Soufrière, and someone who was served in our diplomatic service for quite some time and so on, has Antigua connections, married to a former Antigua and Barbuda ambassador to Cuba, Bruce Goodwin, has made their home for some time as well. And I don't know exactly what it is, but just from reading, I gather that Nancy went through a period. So Nancy, all the best to you, and I look forward to us meeting once again, and for you to be fully back on your feet again. I think that is your favorite almost anthem of your recovery, the Michael Bolton song, when I'm back on my feet again. And I think you're well on your way there and have already taken more than your first few steps. God bless you, my friend. All right. So we'll leave it at that, folks, for the time being, for the week. For today, enjoy the rest of your Friday and your weekend. Shelton Daniel. For The Real Issues, powered by Blue Waters, signing out.
The man, the voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Real issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
Another hurricane season is upon us. Make this year different. Equip yourself with a backup power generator from JH Launchers Electric. We can source and supply any size, any type to your specifications. But the best part is we stock generators. No more long waiting and delays for your home unit. We proudly stock from 2,000 watts all the way to 26,000 watts gas and diesel generators. Automatic and manual transfer switches are also in stock. Visit JH Launchers Electrics today.
What is the vision for the Vendors Arcade? To provide a world-class shopping environment where local goods and services can be provided and experienced by locals and visitors. Why is this redevelopment necessary? The renovations and expansions will revitalize the infrastructure and enhance the shopping experience for vendors, locals, and visitors. Who will be responsible for the Vendors Arcade? The arcade will continue to be operated and managed by the Castries Constituency Council, who will have full responsibility for the rental and maintenance of the space. How will construction of the Vendors Arcade be managed? A phased approach will be employed to minimize disruption to daily operations. After the completion of each phase, vendors will be relocated from the former arcade, and this will continue until completion of the new facility. St. Lucia Cruise Port, investing in people.